Thank you. Start off on announcements. Mr. Salvo, you got anything? Mr. Burnham?
No, well, just the announcement in our packet, the fact that the town offices will be closed Monday, February 19th, observance of President's Day.
What are they on? It's just, we're doing it today, but we don't have a meeting next week, so that's why we're making the announcement 2 weeks in advance. Anyway, okay.
I still
Anything
don't
else?
care. No, that's it.
You go. What's the story? Bueno.
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, under new business, we have recognition of Dispatcher Emily Hunter for the Award of Excellence. We all have a copy of that in our packet. Emily, you want to come up? Mr. Humus, will you give us, let me read this. This is Award of Excellence. May it be known that the certificate is hereby presented to Emily Archer, dispatcher, going above and beyond the call of duty and doing more than others expect. What excellence is all about, and you striving to do your very best. I hereby recognize and thank you for the compassionate care you gave a Snowden resident who called dispatch for assistance during January 4, 2018 with the storm system known as the bomb cyclone snowstorm. We truly went the extra mile to help the resident by showing a driveway following completion of the shift. We're proud to have you as a member of our team. This day, January 2018, by the Board of Selectmen. So, Mr. Humus, tell us a bit about what time we did.
I heard from a resident who called me that was very appreciative that she was elderly and she was snowed in and she was very concerned that she couldn't get out, and she had called dispatch to see if they knew anyone that could plow her out, and then Emily came down after work and helped her out. She was very appreciative of that.
That's going above and beyond. Just an example of what, a lot of people don't understand what town employees do around here. And that's one great example of someone who, after working out all day, and I'm sure it was frustrating, went out and helped somebody else in need. So I think, we have to be very proud of people that work with us, that they can do it kind of after their own time. Great job, Emily. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Emily. Good work. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll come back. We have another recognition. We'll come back to that after. Under number 3, we have offer to purchase property located at 79 Worcester Street, Norton, containing 46.25 acres, more or less, known as Camp Year 3. Mr. Humus?
Yeah, just one, I gave you a draft of the purchase and sale agreement, and that has gone to the owners, and we're waiting to see if they have any changes that they want. Our Sharon Everett from Colton and Page drafted that for us and sent it to the current owner.
Anything we have to do with this thing?
No.
Now, the purchase price was a bit more than we accounted for.
We were hoping for 450, and it came in at 481,500.
Plans some additional funds.
Right, well, the article was filed that a month, so that'll cover the sale, the purchase price, but any other costs that we have to pay, as far as recording, home inspection, we'll have to provide the money for that. And I know that some of the local Girl Scouts have stepped forward, and they're looking to set up a GoFundMe page that will go towards Can't Be the Breed for any expenses and renovations that have to be done, so that'll be nice.
I mean, it's a beautiful piece of land, and I think the town would do the right thing by purchasing it. At some point, we'll probably, what much was going to have to volunteer to get together, see if we can help out. there's some improvements down there without the town having to get too involved and it's the taxpayers doing it. I think that's a way to all get together as a community and kind of do something that's very positive. I think if you haven't been had a chance to get out there, I'm out there recently, that's still a beautiful piece of pleasure. It's going to be a problem for generations to come. It's a great place. It's probably your playground going up, I think.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot, especially in the winter, because we could, just allow it back there and see what we'll do going through the trails that they have in the summer. And you could actually take over them to Rose Farm, Summer School, Jackson.
We'll do that now.
I'm much too old to do that now.
So with no other action we have to take this time. We have Patrolman here.
Yeah.
Patrolman Mahoney. We have a Patrolman Patrick Day Mahoney coming up as retirement. He's coming, right? Here. Chief, I'm going to let you do the introduction.
Okay. Patrick, you want to come up here?
Thanks for coming.
We had a little ceremony at the station last Wednesday, and I told Pat that just be something small in my office. Well, the whole department came. He looked at me and came up and sat down in the chair that was next to me and said, "I thought it was supposed to be a small thing," And then he said, "What is this going to be a roast or something?" So after 35 years of dedicated and loyal service to the town of Norton, Pat officially retired on February 2nd. He started as a patrolman in 1983. He went to the State Police Academy. He served as a detective, as a sergeant. His last shift was, by choice, was the midnight to 8 shift. He's always been known as a hard worker, nobody that would turn down work. If there's an accident scene and he's the senior guy there and he'd take the accident, anything, things like that. Certainly, you see the officers here, he's very well respected in the department. Probably, I wouldn't go out, I could go out on a limb and say he's the most respected guy down there. The guy's just to love him and adore him. He was a long-term and original member of the Honor Guard. So I'm actually surprised he showed up here tonight. I know he's kind of a humble guy, doesn't want anything, but I certainly think that it's very nice for you to recognize him.
We thank you for your years of dedication. I mean, you've been around almost as long as I have.
Came back when Benson came with the police chief.
Yeah, right. Seems like only yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But, your dedication, and I know my daughter one time had a housebreak. You were very helpful with that incident, and it's kind of sad to see the old guard starting to move along. You see a lot of that in the fire department. Recently,
faces.
Not so much the police department, but, obviously you've got the adoring crowd is here to support you, and I think it's a wonderful example of the kind of police department we have.
Yeah. So his wife and his youngest son are here as well.
Thank you for coming.
Congratulations.
I just retired. What are you going to do with them now?
He's already back to work.
So,
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to do with him. I'm going to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. I waited 26 years for that.
If you want to call Steve up, Steve has a little proclamation for you.
okay, I'm not.
Congratulations. 35 years and you still have all your hair.
It's still up there, yeah.
He looks too young.
Yeah, it does. I think you should do another 35 years.
Yeah.
Bite your tongue.
Jay Barrow sends his regrets. He had another commitment tonight, so I'm the one here tonight
Glad to have you.
for this honor. And it's really something when a municipal employee is able to, especially in the police department, spend all this time within one town and provide such service and get to know all the members of the community. It's something that is sort of lost today because it's like baseball with free agents where they move around, but your loyalty to the community is really appreciated. So we thought it was very important to acknowledge that, and we have this citation for you. I will read it.
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Patrick Mahoney in recognition of your 35 years of service with the Norton Police Department and your commitment to public safety for the people of Norton. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses a hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors, given this 8th day of February 2018 at the State House, Boston, Massachusetts, by Robert A. DeLeo, Speaker of the House, by Jay Barrows, State Representative, and by Stephen S. Howard, State Representative. Congratulations. Now you have a job, you can frame it.
I can say, 35 years, it's been a pleasure serving the people in Norton. I grew up in Norton, went through the Norton school system, served under 3 chiefs. It was an honor to serve under Chief Clark. With the exception of maybe 1 or 2 days, I ever regretted being a cop, but the rest I loved it. And I'm going to miss it. I really am.
Thank you for your dedication. We really do appreciate you.
Thank you for the recognition.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Well, let me shake that hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. So next we have on the new business, old business, we're going to bring Warren Goldberg, KP Law, to talk about aviation.
Evening, thank you for having me. Mr. Chairman, I'm well. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you tonight. Normally I'm sitting next to you, and this is, I appreciate putting me on the agenda to be here. I've spoken with the chair and the town manager about the opioid litigation effort that the firm has been bringing to its clients, or bringing to its clients to be aware of. There's national litigation to hold the opioid manufacturers and opioid wholesale distributors responsible for what is widely understood as the most important health crisis of our time. Like big tobacco, the concern is that the opioid manufacturers and distributors knowingly, intentionally misled doctors and ultimately every one of us about the addictive nature of opioid prescription medicine, and that they fraudulently provided for the distribution of this medicine in a way that allowed them to essentially get around all of the kind of double-blind requirements for distribution, so that they were able to target areas where there were apparent weaknesses, job losses, communities that were in transition from manufacturing jobs leaving, things of that nature, and as well communities that were, and socioeconomically challenged. And through that process, they were able to target municipalities throughout the country. And what has ensued is something that we are all quite familiar with. Opioid deaths have been on the rise, doubling in many parts of the country, and every year, year over year. Drug-related police and fire safety enforcement efforts have been increasing, without any limit in sight. And as a result of that, communities have wound up spending more and more money on responding to this crisis. So there's the human aspect of this, which is our friends and neighbors being addicted to prescription drugs and then winding up turning to cheaper alternatives, heroin, fentanyl, drugs of that nature. And I think, when you talk to any law enforcement officials, they will tell you that whereas before they would perhaps respond to an opioid overdose once every few weeks or once a month, now almost every officer has Narcan, or every department has Narcan. Fire officials will say that they're responding to more opioid-related incidents than they are to fires, and that is really what they are spending their time doing. So cities and towns are spending a lot of money on this response, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like that. And as I said, in addition to the human nature of this, which is hitting across the country, and it doesn't matter whether it's this isn't about race or class or money. It's everybody. It's everybody's friends and neighbors. And so when this involves doctors, when there's a doctor that's overprescribing drugs, we can take that doctor's license away. When there's a pharmacist that's being irresponsible about the way that they're dispensing drugs, we can take that license away. But there's really no way to control what's been happening. And so cities and towns throughout the country have essentially been filing individual lawsuits in federal court for the most part. And those individual federal court lawsuits are being bundled together in what's known as multi-district litigation, which is similar to a class action, but not a class action. This is mass tort litigation. And so what happens is basically everyone's alleging the same types of violations, but the damages for one city compared to a different town, compared to a county in other parts of the country are different. And so the benefit of a mass tort litigation is that every community controls whether it wants to file the litigation in the first place, and then whether it wants to settle, if there is a settlement or an award of some sort. So one of the big complaints that we hear about the idea of a class action is, well, what if we don't like the settlement? What if we don't think that that's appropriate for us? And that's one of the benefits of this type of litigation. Now, obviously, KP Law, in and of itself, is not a mass tort litigation firm. There are firms in the country that do this as a matter of practice. This is what they do. And what we have done is joined with the local consortium that's working with a national group of attorneys. The national group that we are associated with, Levin Papantonio, and the firms that are associated with them are essentially, they're out of Florida, Bud and Bud, and some are in New York and some are in Ohio. And these attorneys are essentially shaping the way, or these firms, shaping the way that these cases are being represented, are being brought and being presented to the judge in Ohio, because that's where this litigation is all being centered in. Just today I learned that the group of attorneys that we're associated with, 3 of the 7 positions that were provided on the plaintiff settlement committee went to this group of attorneys. This is what they do for a living. What the firm is bringing to this, and what we really think is of added value in Massachusetts, is we're a local coordinating council for this bigger group. So in Massachusetts, our focus is on representing the particular interests of the cities and towns that we represent. And to that end, we already have negotiated the fee agreement to be more favorable to cities and towns, to be more appropriate for purposes of Massachusetts law. In Massachusetts, municipality can't commit to something if it hasn't appropriated money for that. And we negotiated the agreement with the national group to make sure that that was represented. What's being proposed, and what I believe that you have a copy of, is a fee agreement that provides for 25% of any award to go to the attorney group. And while I wish that 25% would go directly to us, that is certainly not the case. The goal here is to give the bulk of the money to who it belongs to the cities and towns that have undertaken these expenses, and that will undertake those expenses into the future. So of the 75% award, there's a certain amount that would likely go to costs as well. The costs of our firm are minor compared to the costs of these big firms that manage this litigation. But even there, they're very hopeful that they're going to be able to manage those costs in a very efficient way, and that the bulk of the 75% will wind up being paid over as a settlement. Now, what are those funds for? What would Norton be looking for in terms of damages? Well, any amounts that have been spent directly on opiate-related issues, public safety responses, purchases of Narcan, overtime, any additional officers, any drug enforcement efforts, investigations, anything that the town has participated in a regional manner. But it goes beyond that, because as we know, the effects of opioids kind of ripple out. So what's known as the tail effect of opioids is heroin related, injuries, deaths, family issues, domestic violence, any of the types of things that this town has spent money on. In addition, so there's the looking back portion of this, education. There's also a looking forward part, and it's expected that the award that's going to be given is going to create a fund for the future as well. And so it will be looking towards the cost that will continue to increase over time. As I mentioned earlier, the opioid-related deaths have been nearly doubling, and the belief is that that's going to happen for a while until these, big pharma companies are held responsible and understand they need to change their tactics. We're still dealing with people that are addicted, and who often are addicted because their doctors originally prescribed them medicine, not understanding that the nature of this medicine is going to do what it did. So the goal is to have, again, the backward-looking money, but also forward-looking money that's available for education. And major efforts is to inform children that just because there's a prescription bottle in the medicine cabinet doesn't mean it's not dangerous, and that, to also help families understand and respond to addiction. And so the goal is to do both of those things. And there's a real belief that the judge that has been assigned to this case is very knowledgeable, understanding, recognizes what these issues are, and is really pushing these big companies towards settlement. So the hope is, it's not going to be a magic silver bullet. There's no way to solve the situation that we're in right now. But at the same time, it would be nice for cities and towns, especially, in Massachusetts, every year less and less state aid. The responses that you've been undertaking, whether you could put your finger on it and say it's related to opioids or not without going back to look, are expensive. And so to be able to bring some money directly to cities and towns to address that is really the goal. The Attorney General's office is also pursuing litigation or at least some legal remedy with respect to this same issue. The difference is there's no guarantee that that money will come to cities and towns. And from our perspective, both of those cases can go forward, or both of those routes can go forward to try and get some recovery for cities and towns and for the state. Everybody knows more money is needed in every respect. So what I would propose for you to consider is to agree to sign the agreement. Once you would do that, we would send that to the national group. They would prepare a complaint. And because I just thought it would interest you, I wanted to show you this is the complaint that was filed in Greenfield. And as you can see, we are talking hundreds of pages of data. This is not including the attachments. It lays out very carefully the different theories of liability and the different theories of damages. And it's, again, as I said, both the product manufacturers, but also the wholesale distributors. People say, well, does that mean, my local pharmacy? Does that mean my doctor? And the answer to that is no. There's other ways to deal with things. And that's not what this lawsuit is trying to do. So if you were to sign on, a complaint like this would be prepared for you. It would get filed in Ohio. And at some point, if liability is established in Ohio through that mass tort litigation, then the damages phase of that would begin. At the same time, as we're talking in kind of the hypothetical when, there's also, as I said, a plaintiff settlement committee and a defendant settlement committee that has already been established at the urging of the judge. And so it could be, again, not expecting this to happen in a very quick manner, maybe 5 to 10 years, that there could be a settlement with money coming directly to the town. And then the town gets to decide, is this something that we're comfortable with? Does this settlement do what we had hoped it would do? Is it in a form that we're comfortable with? If the answer is yes, you would agree to the settlement and the case would settle. If the answer is no, and you really think that there's a different or better settlement that's available, then that case would be brought back to Massachusetts and it would be heard in federal district court in Massachusetts. And that's important because, Norton is in Massachusetts, and it should, if it's not going to be able to be dealt with on the national level in an appropriate way, it gives the town the ability to have that dealt with in this town, in this state. Finally, there may be a time, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, well, we don't want to invest a lot of money in trying to figure out how much money we've already invested. And I absolutely understand that. I think some of this information is available already, and if you were to look for it, you would find it. But if there was a need to go kind of do a more deep dive into what money has been spent and how to identify and quantify that, the national litigation team will have a proposed approach to that then we as coordinating council and as your town council would be able to help you with. One of the great things about this is that we do our regular job representing the town as town council, but you don't pay for that portion of our work. That portion of the work would be paid for by the settlement in the event that there was one. And if there wasn't one, you wouldn't pay anything. I think it's probably obvious. The potential for the firm to make money at the very end of this exists. It's a possibility. But the reason we have agreed to approach it like this, because we were working in a previous situation like this, the MTBE litigation, I don't know if that rings a bell for anyone. It was an additive to gasoline that created, toxins that would seep into the ground. And when we were involved in that, our clients were paying us directly, and the clients were paying the attorneys that were bringing the suit as part of the settlement. And we just really didn't feel like this was the type of thing where you should pay now. We think if you wind up being able to get a settlement, then that's fine, and we'll get paid that way. And if not, we won't get paid. This is everybody's issue. If you Google this, or if you watch any YouTube videos, or you will hear over and over and over that this is the most important litigation in the current national scene. This is it. This is what everyone's dealing with. This is where the money is being spent. This is, destroying communities, and so this is an opportunity for the town to, at very little risk, because the risk is you won't get anything, but at very little risk, to put your name in with a list of other communities that have already filed this litigation. And just so that you're aware, in other states, it's often counties that join because they're not organized the way Massachusetts is, with the towns being kind of the stronger entity. But, whole counties, the entire state of Kentucky, and there are significant numbers of municipalities that have already filed, about 150 represented by this group alone on the national level. And over the past few weeks, we've seen more and more in Massachusetts. So I'm available to answer any questions that I can.
We had a conversation in Boston about this, and right away it caught my attention. But, looking back, and what the bureaus have done to all of us, we've all had some kind of contact one way or the other with young people that are affected by it. And listening to the possibility of some kind of litigation, not being a class action doesn't cost the town anything. It's just going to be something that we're going to join and try to hopefully make some changes. I'm looking at the future and what we can do to hopefully make it better for everyone. And you get control over the manufacturers and the distributors to make sure they understand how severe this is. And I'm pretty sure by now they know that. At the same time, recognizing that we have a lot of things to do now. Not looking back, what we have to do now through education, through the school system. We have a committee in town that does a lot of good work there. The chief, fire department, police department, they all do a great job with future costs. We have a halfway house right across the street. We have the cottage right directly across the street. And I understand has a lot of occupation right now and very few beds. So it's a problem that's affecting all of us. At the same time, I think it's very important to stress that signing on to this only gives us the opportunity to go back and deal with the manufacturers and the people that distribute this stuff. We're not going after the big guys or the little guys. We're not going after the drugstore. We're not going after anybody. We're trying to deal with what we can expect to pay in the very near future. We're not thinking, as long as we were getting some grant money on that, I believe, and it's going to dry up real fast. And we're going to be paying $70, at least $70, $80 per unit, just to have our public safety people. And by the way, it's branching us off into other areas now too. We're teaching people in schools what to do. I mean, everyone's being affected by this, and not just the public safety folks that have to deal with this thing. It's pretty much across the board. including businesses. And now starting to look at having this type of stuff available. So, Mr. Selvey, you have a question?
Just a couple of questions. Thank you, Lauren, for bringing this forward tonight. It's the same old thing. It's like, I'm totally in favor of trying to raise as much money as we possibly can, but maybe help add facilities for building more rehabilitation places for people that really need it. But then again, you get the clinics that are handing out this stuff like candy. That's my biggest issue, versus more than going into a regular doctor's office, get a prescription. It's the clinics that have a higher rate of distribution of not getting people the right help and just, putting a Band-Aid on it. So, that's the pressure we should look forward to going after too, besides the big drug companies. But that's all I have to say.
Lauren, you said that the Attorney General was also pursuing this. Should there be some distribution to cities and towns as a result of that? Would we be precluded from collecting on that as well?
I can't imagine that you would be. There hasn't been anything filed by the Attorney General right now, but I know this is an important issue. This is an important issue at every level of government. This is a case that's being brought on behalf of municipalities, on behalf of local governments, and in the case of Kentucky, the entire state. But they're different theories that are being used, and this is happening right now. So, again, I don't think it will preclude. I can't say for sure because the Attorney General hasn't filed anything. But the goal, when I should back up and just say, unless there was a law that was put into place that indicated how any recovery at the state level was going to be handled, it would automatically go into the general fund. Because you don't get to earmark receipts like that. At least that would be my expectation. Now, I'm sure that if the state were to recover money, cities and towns are going to be in the state's mind, and that's I'm sure they will. How that will play out, I can't predict. But I think this is one avenue worth pursuing. And the other thing to bear in mind is, let's just say hypothetically that there is something like that later. Well, then it's a good time to talk about, do you want to withdraw from this litigation and take your chances in that scenario. You're not precluded from withdrawing if you choose to.
Thank you.
I'm kind of drawing on my knowledge of the drug industry, household industry. When we say drug, people think I'm making stuff in the bathtub and sometimes I like to get that reaction, but in the pharmaceutical industry, from my experience, I've dealt with many salespeople who deal in half-truths. I can see that they might mislead people to think the things are safe. The problem I have with this is where they include wholesale distributors who already, I haven't been in the retail pharmacy for about 20 years, but even back over 20 years ago, to get any kind of controlled substances, it was highly regulated by the DEA, and you have to have written requests that go in. Distribution couldn't be made until they've had the written forms, and to me, I just don't understand how they can blame wholesale distributors for fulfilling legal orders for a substance to pharmacies to distribute prescriptions, legal prescriptions. That's the problem I have.
Yeah. Sure. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, and this has been a learning process for me as well, because I watched 60 Minutes, but I wasn't involved in the legal process to arrive at this spot. But essentially, the concern or the real focus for quite some time has been on those wholesale distributors, because the way that the relationship between the manufacturers and the distributors is where it is alleged things went horribly wrong. That the distributors were essentially kind of engaged in a scheme whereby they were providing information back to the manufacturers that they were not supposed to be. and that information allowed the manufacturers to target advertising that would then encourage both prescribers and users, patients, to take advantage or choose to use opioids when they wouldn't otherwise have done so. So, one example is a community in West Virginia that has 3,000 people in it. And yeah, some of you have already heard about this. And there were so many opioids prescribed in that town that there was, if you would get it by per capita, by population, it would have been 6,500 pills per person. This includes babies, it includes, elderly people, it just covers the gamut. So it is in fact that they believe that there was intentional fraud, misrepresentation, misleading, and behavior that was intended to addict people and to allow the big pharma to specifically target those people. So I do understand your concern, and I'm happy to provide you with a copy of this complaint because I feel like if you read it, you'd be more comfortable with the thought that they would be held accountable. The kind of different type of claims that are being brought. There's negligence, there's public nuisance, but there's also racketeering and Corrupt Organizations Act claims, the RICO claims, that this was a scheme and it was intended to go around the kinds of protections that you're indicating exist.
Just one question. Are they targeting specific distributors, wholesale distributors?
Yes.
Or
I can give you, if
a
you,
blanket?
yeah, many of the companies that are listed here are Fortune 100. 3 of them are Fortune 15, which means they have the kind of, these are distributors, that have the kind of income that ExxonMobil does. These are enormous companies. These are not, in theory, it could trickle down to some, more local type companies, but it is mostly at this. It's Johnson & Johnson, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, Amerisource, Bergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson. These are enormous companies.
My notes are that 19 drug companies were affected, 3 manufacturers, and none disclosing on the distribution.
That's true.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm, fortunate enough to be on the opioid prevention committee with Chief and a lot of people in the area, the town and surrounding areas. Almost on a monthly basis, we're reminded of what's going on in our community. And I think people would be surprised to hear how many incidents that are opioid related our public safety department are responding to. The time, the money, the effort that's going into these incidents, of course, that has to be there, but it's being taken away from other areas. I actually feel that any money that would be realized by this lawsuit would probably just be a drop in the bucket to what's already been paid out, not only monetarily, but in the lives that have been lost, the lives that have been damaged, the families that have been ruined. But the thing I like about this lawsuit is I think that the message needs to be sent to large companies and to actually everybody in the supply chain that there's a responsibility that they have to the consumers that they're selling their products to, and whatever the effects are going to be as a result of taking these, and the results are not only on individuals but to the communities in which they live.
Who's the federal agency's responsible?
DEA.
DEA. And to a certain extent, they need to be held responsible also. I'm not suggesting we expand that, for that, but I think that's part of the whole process. It has to start at the top and it has to funnel back down. It has to be clear what the expectations are. Where,
Just out of curiosity, are any of the pharmacy benefit managers involved in that as well, like Express Scripts or CVS Caremark?
Not in the
distribution that
right.
just
Not in this list.
Yeah.
These are wholesale distributors,
Yeah.
and so it is really Janssen, Noramco, Endo Health Solutions. These are companies that are of the kind of at the very top of the chain.
Even back to that chain, there's so much blame to go around in this. Even the companies like CVS, where they're filling prescriptions without getting the required documents, or knowingly giving the same person a prescription that they know that shouldn't, no person should be getting that many pills. I mean, there's just so much responsibility here. The doctors that are prescribing it, the clinics, from the top down.
Chief, anything, any comments? Can you give us an update on where, how busy you guys are?
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'd kind of like to do. So I'll go backwards, starting from say now. So this year alone, we've had 6 overdoses. If we kept up this as of February 8th, if we keep this trend up, it'll be 3 times as many overdoses as we had last year, which is a huge amount. So to say that this is going away, it's just not going away. This is probably, in my career, this is the single most largest issue that's affected so many people. There's things in your career that you deal with, but this is just unbelievable, and the damage that has been done. And I know talking to the town manager at one point in time, and I talked to Lauren Seifert tonight. Like, if you see that 60-minute special, it just infuriates you. And then as Lauren's reading this today, like, I'm getting more infuriated. Like, how does this happen? How do these big companies allow this to happen? You mentioned the DEA. If you watch that 60-minute special, it's even bigger than the DEA. It's special interest. It's just incredible. Last year we had about 28 overdoses. We had a little bit more the year before. And remember, the big number that really got our attention is we started to see a spike in it. But Norton was 26th per capita by the Department of Public Health in Massachusetts. That's, when you see that number 26, it's a big deal. Certainly we don't have as many overdoses as other towns, but per capita, we're up there. So, something certainly has to be done. The governor's done, I think, a decent job making sure that you can only prescribe so many pills on your first visit, and 7 days rather than a 30-day. I like what he's doing about the CARE Act by mandating some treatment. When we deal with an overdose, it's 30 or to another hospital, and there's no treatments beds available, but they're basically let out on the street. You wouldn't do that to a heart attack victim. Like, you wouldn't just say, "Oh, you're all set." You don't do that. Like, and we're seeing the same type of people, the same people over and over again. It's just the stress that the officers have to go through dealing with this. They're reviving people. It's a huge deal. So whether or not you go along with this lawsuit is totally up to you. But from the police department perspective, it's definitely one of the biggest issues we deal with.
I think the message, what I'm seeing on how I'm feeling personally is, I'm not concerned about the amount of money we can make out of this. It's more, I want to send a message back. How many other communities are involved so far in Massachusetts?
There's about 20,
20 so far?
and we're having discussions like this, and there's an effort being made statewide to really bring this forward for the very purpose that you're indicating, which is the more communities that join, the more of a message it sends, and the more attention the state of Massachusetts gets in this national lawsuit.
Yeah,
So
I think
there's
that's
real
right.
value in numbers.
I think it's very important that we make, like I said, I'm not, financial side is one thing. The message, clear message that we are not going to tolerate this type of abuse anymore. And that includes anything in the future too. We're not just sending a message about what's out there now, but when these drug companies come up with these products, they have to be very clear about what kind of impact it's going to have on people. And I don't think they did a very good job in the last few years. They've just basically throwing everything out there. When you start seeing the young people go, and it's a lot of times, even though you say there's 6 suicides, other aspects that we not even counted toward this, but it may be part of it. When people get to a point where they just can't take it anymore, and they take their lives. So, the message has to be clear that we're not going to put up with this crap anymore. We need to slow down, follow the rules, come up with a way to make sure that the rules are followed, and get us. I'm very concerned about some of the young people in communities today. When I was growing up, we had the pot, we had all the other stuff that everybody else had. But, this stuff today can kill you. This is a lot different than the experiences of the 60s and 70s. This is a not different, that's the issue.
Chief, the statistics that you gave for last year and so far this year, does that include anything that happens on Wheaton College, or is that completely independent of that?
No, it would include it. So we run, you know, the NOPE meetings, the non-opioid prevention education meetings that we meet like every other month, and Wheaton is part of that. They would bring statistics to us. As far as I know, they haven't had any overdoses. So.
You know, one thing about this problem is, you know, it's easy for people to kind of like judge when they hear about drug addicts. But so many people who have become addicted, just like us, who were injured or had surgery, or maybe a high school kid that got hurt on the football field. And this is where it goes. And I think you have the statistics more. The addiction problem is not with beyond kids. This is something that, you know, you've got 50-year-old, 60-year-old people who are addicted. It's hit all walks of life, all in place.
Thanks, that's all. Anyone else? Steve?
I just have one comment on it. You know, this goes even a little further with the insurance companies providing coverage for prescriptions, because myself tried to get a prescription and got denied because I didn't try A, B, or C prior to getting this particular thing. So it goes back to them also just letting this out like candy. Maybe you could get, you know, take an Advil or whatever. You don't need to go all the way to Oxford. Okay, so they need to have some pressure put on them also for providing this type of, you know, high octane.
Mr. Chairman, I think it bears mentioning that while ultimately a recovery, the financial part of a recovery, isn't necessarily the point, there is a message that's sent to corporate America that human beings, human life matters. And so I think that the way that that message is sent is bad press and pay. And so, you know, we have to use the tools that are available to us. And I think the point of, or the takeaway from my perspective is, this is something you can do that you can pursue, but it doesn't replace the day-to-day, it doesn't replace the efforts of NOPE, it doesn't replace, you know, the opportunity to look at the way other issues are being handled, what Governor Baker's doing, what the Attorney General is doing. There's a lot that needs to be done right now that this litigation doesn't touch. But this is one of those mechanisms, and it, you know, it's low risk, and ultimately it may help. It may give you money to deal with treatment. It may give you money to deal with addressing prevention. We don't know, but it's at least it's sending a message, and there's the potential that it provides another tool for you to fight this. I think the reality is this is a human issue. That's what it is, and I think the kind of outrage that everyone feels when they start talking about it or reading about it or learning about it is that it does hit everybody. Babies are born addicted. Older adults who would never even dream, you know, in their most senior years, who would never have dreamed of taking a drug that they would then crave, are being given this drug like it isn't a big deal. I think it's less so now, you know, this minute than it was 5 years ago, but that, you know, kind of climax of where we're going to see problems, we haven't reached it yet. And so to bring attention to the issue, to keep talking about it, and to keep thinking of ways to approach it, and approach addressing it, you know, that's really the goal. And, you know, frankly, that's why we're involved, because this goes beyond the money. You know, all of this, being here tonight, being involved in this, we may never be paid, and that's okay. You know, we're doing it because we think it's important. And if ultimately you recover, then we will, and if you don't, then we won't. But we will have had these conversations. We'll have had an opportunity to bring it to, you know, a kind of higher level, and that's, you know, that's a success in and of itself.
I think they have to develop non-addictive drugs, and this is another way to encourage them to do so. My daughter's going to have an operation next Wednesday. She has a herniated disc in her neck. She was getting Percocet. She's in the medical field. She's scared to death to take it. So if there really isn't anything else that can give her any relief. So when she's pushed against the wall, she takes it just to give herself some relief. But there's going to be some other alternatives out there, and the doctors, to their credit, are making it very difficult for her but he doesn't even want to get more. And that's the way it should be. You should be giving somebody 50 of them. You know, they should be giving them out a few at a time, and that's what it appears that they're doing these days. But the other message has to be clear that find something else that will work just as well, that we won't become addicted to, and to help people out.
You were mentioning that our government has to be there with us. Well, our government isn't. That's why this lawsuit is important. Our government is just the opposite, because they go where the money is. And if you watch that 60 Minutes piece, you'll be shocked that there was an attorney for the FDA that uncovered all this abuse that the distributors knew about, and he gets fired because they're getting all kinds of contributions down in Washington from the drug companies, and they actually protect now the distributors. And the new director of the FDA isn't the attorney that was able to prove all this. They hired, the new director is an attorney from the law firms that was defending those companies. So don't count on our government to help us. That's why we need the lawsuits.
I don't think this is going away anytime soon, but I think there's a lot more awareness, and we're trying more to tell people about prevention. You know, we did get a grant through the Attorney General's office this year to start Project Alert that Patrolman Mark Robichaud is at the middle school in the 7th grade teaching now. That's going to be a 2-year project, and then there'll be a peer-to-peer from there on in. Certainly, we're still running remote meetings. You know, we're talking to the legislators on a annual basis, so there's a lot that we feel we still can do, but it's still affecting us.
Any other questions? I mean, honestly, you know, I feel that we need to do something, and I think this is probably the only way to, and again, I'm not looking for the money, I'm looking for the message. And I think this is the only way to do it. I have an engagement to represent form that was given to me that I can sign as chair, and it basically, you know, as Warren indicated, give them the ability to put something together for us. Does anyone have any questions about that? If not, I would entertain a motion to authorize the chairman to sign an engagement to represent town of Norton, Massachusetts citizen against those legally responsible for the wrongful distribution of prescription PPAs, yes, and damages caused by thereby.
So moved.
Second. Something else? Here's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Seale? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Pembroke?
Yes.
It's okay. You're in the field, you probably have better idea.
I'll tell you after.
Okay, thanks. And I do vote yes.
We should be suing the government today.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have classified in the first time.
Okay, you're unanimous anyway. Thank you.
Well, I thank you, and, you know, we will do our very best to keep you as updated as possible. If anybody has questions, you know, please let us know. And there is, if you were to Google Peter Merrigan and the Commonwealth, Talk of the Commonwealth, you will be able to listen to Peter Merrigan, who's one of the local consortium, explaining this process, and it's just useful. It's a quick listen for anybody who's watching or listening and who wants to get more information. That's a good opportunity.
Thank you to you, KP, and you for bringing this to our
Thank you,
attention.
Mr. Chairman. I appreciate
I
it.
wouldn't know anything about it unless you brought it to my attention. I really do appreciate the fact that we can get involved in this very, very dangerous situation. I think it's great that we're being given the opportunity to do so.
Well, thank you, and as I said, I really appreciate being before you tonight, and I'm sure I will see you all soon. Okay,
Thanks a
take
lot.
care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Okay. Skip around. I'm going to go to
I'll send you.
Paul Cuneo, Recreation Director, Commission members regarding an activity update. Come on up.
I'm going to invite up some of my members
Sure,
where
come on up.
to
Guys,
attend,
come up
so you
too.
guys can
Come on
meet
up.
them.
you mind introducing them to us?
I would absolutely like to. I can let them introduce themselves if you'd like, so you can get acquainted. So obviously, I'm Nicole, I'm the recreation director.
My name is Tiffany Green.
My name's Robert Kerr, I'm the chairman.
And I'm Sonia Tillis, co-chair.
Thanks for coming.
So
What exciting news they have for us.
of course. So put together a little PowerPoint, so we can kind of. It works. It didn't look like it was going to work for a second. But, and then I think there was one for everyone to have in front of them. I hope you guys have them. Just because I know sometimes it's hard to see it up there. But we kind of just wanted to give you an update on some of the stuff we're doing and what we're planning to do in the future. So, so the first thing we want to share with you is our mission. We changed it a little bit from what it was previously and kind of added a little bit of ourselves to it. But essentially, would you guys like me to read it to you? To advance, so our mission is to advance parks, recreation, and leisure time activities that enhance the quality of life. The purpose of the Recreation Department is to meet the diverse recreational, cultural, athletic, and leisure time pursuit of the residents with a broad-based, comprehensive, and inclusive program. We will be committed to future trends and streaming ideas with other town boards. Programs will be organized year-round while being held at safe and well-equipped facilities. You guys want to see, I know. You're more than welcome to sit up here. I know how long I've covered this. So I want to start off by talking to you guys about some of our objectives and stuff that we are going to be doing and that we're looking to do, everything that we want to get going. So one of the big things is we want to make sure we're engaging all age groups because one of the things we've noticed is there weren't too many senior activities, and Tiffany spent some time down at the senior center one day and got a lot of feedback about how they want some stuff going on. So we're definitely trying to make sure we're broadening our horizon on that. So with that, we're trying to make sure that there's at least one program per month, which would be huge from what it was previously. There were programs, but not ensuring that there was 1 month. So that's a big goal we have. We want to make sure that we're generating enough revenue to support the department and the programs that we're offering along with the pool staff. Because even though I walked in July last year, I did notice that a lot of the way we staff the pool is from all these awesome programs and events we run. Some of the objectives is we want to take the department from, it was about just under 10 programs and events are two different things just to classify for you. The events are like the bigger things we do, parade, Snowflake Social, Founders Day, Lighting Festival.
And one fundraiser.
Yes. And then the programs are where we offer different sporting events for the kids. So I noted some of them for kindergarten ages is kind of the focus of what we've done. So we've been able to, and this is something that was set up prior to me, offer it for basketball, soccer, and football and baseball, all for kindergarten ages. And then, of course, it goes into the recreational programs of each sport that they run their own boards. Then we had a couple kayak tours, because we do more in kayak. We have an agreement with them. There was a wrestling camp, and then there's been a reservoir cleanup. So in a nutshell, or at least from what I have upstairs to kind of work off of, this is what I've been able to take has been the consistent offerings of programs each year. So there's definitely a good amount of stuff on there, but we definitely have plans moving along that this is increasing. Deliverables. Deliverables. So one of the first things we did that's actually been a huge hit is a newsletter. So I think some of you get it. If you don't get it, I'll make sure you get it. But what I did was, what we talked about is we wanted to have a newsletter for what was going on. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to do like a year pamphlet of what will be offered year round. But where we're working on that, we kind of came up with a newsletter. Every month we send out a newsletter. We've offered it to all the departments, all the town departments. So, we have conservation who does it, planning and zoning, the veterans agent does it. The police actually sent me over something today that they wanted me to put in for the next month. I have a lot of people who are joining in with this, and we're getting a lot of good feedback, and it's very helpful. So that's awesome. It's been really fun. For the upcoming fiscal year, again, we want to ensure that every month has an event or a program, which will double essentially at least double what we're being offered right now. Since the start of my new board and myself, we've already had a couple new programs offering that are locked in, that have begun. So we'll have yoga in May, we're starting, which we're really excited about. We started Learn to Skate, which started in January 1st. It's coming up on the end of this month it will end, and since we did so well with that, we had 8 kids register, which we were only expecting like 1 or 2. They even said for our first year 1 or 2 would be great, we had 8. So we are now going to move on to the spring session and offer it again, since we did so well. So we're sticking with that. Another thing I've been talking with Beth Rossi with is we're going to offer a senior yard cleanup. And we've talked to a couple youth programs and the Girl Scouts, or at least we're planning to talk to the Girl Scouts, but we talked to a couple of youth programs about, going with the senior center, getting a list of people that might want to help clean their yard up after the winter and everything, and we're going to go down there, even us ourselves, and we're going to help them out, because we want them to know that we care from kindergarten to senior. It doesn't matter, if you live here, we want something for you. And then I also talked to Conservation about doing something for Earth Day. I really want to plant a tree. That is my goal. But she said she's going to help me come up with some cool stuff that we can do. So that's something. Those are a couple of the for sure locked in things.
They have a money tree, but you gotta find out.
I was looking for that. I know I need one in my own backyard. If I find one, I'll let you guys know. We'll go to the next one. So this, I just want to give you guys a visual. I'm very visual, so I find that it helps if I can show that to you. On the left side, you see 2017, and this is just a small, from January to June, of what programs and events were offered. Again, this is to the best of my knowledge, this is what I have available for me upstairs. So if I'm missing anything, I do apologize, but I can only work off of what I do have to work off of. So you can see compared next to 2018, which most of these up till April and even getting into May are locked in already. So you can just see if you look month to month, January to January, you can see a difference. February to February, unfortunately, just because it's been a little crazy, we are looking to add another thing for February, but we do have the skating. So at least we went from nothing to something already. March, you can see we're filling up. April, you can see is filling up. May is filled in June. So. And that's just to show you what we're planning. These are things that we are looking to do. Of course, it's going to require more time and more effort, but we've already been able to lock in things for all the way up to May. So that's huge, the difference of where we were to where we're going. So I just thought a nice visual was good. Some success factors. So I wanted to share with you guys some pictures from the lovely Halloween parade. As you can see, we have Peter in like not half a minute. We just wanted to show you, even though I know most of you, if not all of you, were there, how we were told, and I've been to a couple Halloween parades, but it's not the same when you're like looking down the street at it. We were told from many people that it was by far the largest crowd they've had yet, which is awesome. That's great. We've got a lot of positive.
Sound like Trump.
It's the biggest and the best.
We measured by candy, and I would say
Ever.
it probably was.
I got no candy, so
It's the largest
not very
crowd
happy. So we got some positive feedback from town officials and residents. We got a couple emails and a couple of things back on the Facebook from feedback of how great it was. So that's awesome. And then one of the big tasks that we were really concerned about was at the end. So St. Mary's Church had a party at 2 o'clock. Our parade starts at 12. We had to get everyone in and out, and they couldn't go in that parking lot. They had to just drive around the cemetery, and it had to be like that. And we did it with no problem. Next year we are looking to try to maybe go more into the middle school, because we're assuming they'll probably have a party again. But I didn't even know if we were going to be able to pull that off, and everyone just works together so well. It was awesome. It was like no complaints, nothing. It went well. The next
Another picture of me.
Of course, I couldn't resist. I thought it was such a lovely picture.
That's right, Nicole.
So these are some photos from the lighting festival. Again, we had a huge turnout, I was told. I was there, but I'm just saying, taking from what others have said. And we did have some new additions. I'm very proud. We've had animals. We had a donkey. All I wanted was animals for some reason, but because just when you think, of all that stuff, you think of the animals, the nativity and everything. So that was something new that we added in, and it was a huge hit, it was awesome, so we're definitely gonna have them back again next year, but I just want to share some more pictures with you guys so you can see. So moving on, these are some of the elements that are gonna be key to the success of the department, right? So we definitely need satisfied community members. Several departments have participated in the newsletter, and we've received a lot of positive feedback, so that's from obviously departments and the community, because we were receiving emails boasting about the success of our events thus far. I've actually gotten a couple emails about the lighting festival in specific, about just how there was a lot of people there, and I don't know if it was maybe we were just closer together, but there was a lot of people there, which was really, it was just really nice to have people say that you're doing a good job, and there's so many more people than usual, so it's awesome to hear that. We need to meet project objectives and goals, so our newest program was Learn to Skate. As I mentioned before, we had a goal of 1 to 2. We blew that out of the water with 8. So we're setting goals and we want to meet or exceed them. Completed within the budget, so I have run through that budget inside and outside. I can tell you with my eyes closed at this point. It is like engraved in the back of my mind, but we're trying to be very conscious of what we're doing. If we're putting anything out, that it is only going to increase what's coming back in. Of course with everything, but that's one of our big things, because we've noticed just the littlest things can end up being much more expensive than anything. Simple as flyers. A lot of stuff we're trying to do in-house, we're trying to do it a different way than sending it out and paying $200 for someone to print the forms. So we're trying to find different ways to make it work. And delivering on time. So when it came time to do the Santa letters, we received comments on Facebook about, are they going to be on time this year?
Or are they going to be sent?
Or are they going to be sent this year? I didn't request a Santa letter last year, so I knew nothing about this. So we kind of investigated, and I guess there was some type of issue where not every kid got one, or they were just a little bit late. So we made sure that we got these out ahead of time. We really took our time. We double checked everything, went through the kids like 3 times, and no problems. So that we just, if there's ever been an issue or something to improve on, we just want to take the time to improve on it. So that's something that we took feedback from the community, and we did our part to definitely make it a very big success. Again, these are the members on my board. So you've already met Sonia, Rob, and Tiffany. But 3 of my members weren't able to make it, Nicole, Alexandria, and Michael. And then we also have, which you guys may know, I'm assuming you know, Rosemary Nolan, who I know has been part of this board for such a long time. She's in Florida right now, lucky her, but she's at every meeting. She's so helpful at every event. She's awesome. And the same with Carol. They're just so sweet, and their input is very helpful because they're giving us like this is what we did in the last years. These are some of the people. So it's been tremendously helpful. It's been awesome. And then implementation. So some of the things the way we're making these things happen is we're always searching for new ideas. So we try to use Facebook and our town website to the best of our abilities. We're always
Especially for me.
Yes. We're always posting something out there and looking for feedback. We've actually put out a poll to see something about like a co-ed softball league. We wanted to see how people would relate to it, if it was something people would want to do, and we got a great response from that. So it's something we're starting to do our research on and contacting people to figure out how to make that happen. And then the newsletter, of course, because it's going out to community members as well. It's going out to people who use the pool and everything like that and participate in programs. Procedures, so I'm lucky enough that once a week, somebody comes in, at least once a week, someone comes in to my office and helps me. Sometimes it's more than once a week. I mean, Rob and Sonia are here all the time. Tiffany, when she's not sleeping because she works the night shift, she definitely comes in. All my board members are awesome. Like, there's always at least someone to come in and give me a hand or ask, do I need help with something? Because there's always something. And we have really made sure, again, this is just to the best of my knowledge to what I have upstairs. From what I can tell, there weren't as many board meetings as we prefer. We do at least 2 meetings a month, so we try to do them every other week. From what I could concur and see, there was maybe 1 every 3 months, or sometimes a couple a month and then nothing. So we think it's very important for us to continue to meet that much because of the direction we're taking this in. And then another great thing that we're doing for tools and technology is we're trying to find, I found that there is a group on LinkedIn for all recreation department heads and everything to talk and figure out what each department's doing or what programs they're using. And because I was just going on and trying to find whoever the recreation director was for every town and making my own emails. But there's a group that I found, and it's been really helpful because you can go back and forth and get the feedback and ask questions and see what they're asking and what they're using. And I found a program that hoping maybe I can use for scheduling and stuff, because right now we're in middle school. You want a rental, you come up and see me, you fill out a paper, and you leave me a check, and then in like 2 weeks before your rental, you come up and give me another check and you sign something else. So I'm trying to switch it over because everyone picks up their phone at night. Oh, I meant to go book my rental. I'll just sit in bed and do it. So that's something that we've really been trying to find. And I've partially got it there where I joined in with the tax collectors where they can take payments online on our town website. I'm now using that same thing. They're just getting through the process of setting up my page for it. So I'll be able to take payments for programs. I don't think we're able to do it for the rentals because there's like a security deposit and it differs a lot. But it's something we're working on. So that's a huge, we're trying to take it from being here to kind of catching up with everything. Yeah, we're making a huge improvement on that and trying to catch it up. So it's easier to get to sign up for these things, and be a part. Yeah. So, and drum roll, Founders Day. There will be Founders Day this year. The field is officially booked for June 16th. Mark your calendars. I already put in the paperwork for it. They came back and said that we got it, we're all set, so that's great. And I just put these links in case you guys wanted to see it. And then we started to make a list. This is kind of more of us thinking out loud, this list of the things that we know are getting done, need to be done. But we already started the request, the RFP, the request for proposal for fireworks. So I got it from the company who's done it previously, and that's what these two links are, just to show what they did previously and what all the fireworks are called, which is a lot of weird fireworks names. But we're going to put an RFP out because we have to get, I believe, 3 of those, I believe. We need to get at least 3 quotes. We're preparing vendor and sponsor registration forms, so we're looking over the ones for previous years, seeing if we want to change anything and put, see what needs to be added or taken out. We're looking into entertainment already. We were tossing around ideas about doing raffle baskets to engage everyone that's there into kind of like one big pool, which would be kind of nice. We're looking to see about like a petting zoo or animal rides, and then inflatables, the train that's always there, and then of course the pie eating contest, and then we had a great idea of potato sack races. So this is kind of just our thinking out loud list of stuff that we're tossing around and we want to get to. But we did put out a thing, I believe it was Monday, about forming a Founders Day committee. So anyone who wants to help out, anyone who's watching this, if anyone wants to join the committee, we would love your help because, we are all new. We do have our new ideas, but I know there might have been some people who were part of putting this together before. And we'd love your help because, knowing where it came from and what worked and what didn't is going to help us make it better. And we just want anyone who wants to get involved because I know that a lot of people were upset. So all the people who are upset and weren't happy with it, come help us. Come join. Come give us your ideas. How can we make it better? So we already sent out a thing for that. So hopefully we're looking for March to be one of the first meetings for that. So, and then just to finish up, we just set some long-term goals for ourselves. So we just want to make sure that all the events are well planned, well maintained, and promote high community satisfaction ratings. I'll offer events that are inclusive and welcoming to all ages, so again, from kindergarten to the senior center, whatever it might be, we want there to be something. All scheduled events will be held and met with the department's highest standards, so we're going to be sure that it's nothing less than our highest expectation. and we want to develop a vibrant recreation department whose level of growth is congruent with surrounding town success. So you look around and you see Mansfield and Sharon and Foxborough, you see where their recreation departments are. That's where we're aspiring to be. We're not, we have very high goals, very high standards for ourselves, and we're going to get there. We are. We're going to give Norton everything that they want to do, so there's always something going on, no matter what you like or your age or anything like that. So that's pretty much it. I know. If anyone has any questions or comments, we'd really like to hear from you guys. And thanks for inviting us so we can, so you guys can meet the couple of my board members.
Yeah, in the past, we've always asked that any new committee members have a chance to come forward, and we appointed you guys so fast.
I know, we kind of just.
To make it all happen, but, it looks like you got your act together, which is great. There's a lot of work to be done. Some of the old ideas are still good ideas. I'm glad to see you're
Yes,
incorporating one of those. And, Founder's Day and the Halloween parade and the Festival of Lights, those are all key items, key programs that the town and Doe enjoys.
Yeah, we don't want to get rid of anything that everyone looks forward to.
Yeah, good stuff. So if somebody has an idea on something, how do they contact you?
So on the town website, my email is on there. They can email me. My phone number is on there. On the Facebook, my email and phone number is on there. If they know the address of the town hall, they can walk right in, walk right upstairs, and come say hello to me.
Most of it's been coming through Facebook messaging.
About what, 3,000 members so far?
Yeah, we have a lot. We have a good following on Facebook, and we try to share and
about
use.
3,000 people. I think Blake, our Northern Parks and Recreation Facebook page.
And we also, I know every now and then, like the other departments, whoever has a Facebook, they'll share our stuff. The library shares everything of mine, which is awesome.
And yours truly, P.J. Wiggins, I post a
Peter,
couple of
you're
stuff.
always.
Peter, you still do commercials?
We might need one. But yeah, we have a really good following on Facebook. That seems to
And
be.
it continues to grow every month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to go to social media route because that's where
Everyone
everyone is at nowadays.
Yeah. And I just want to let you guys know that I came in and I had all these great ideas and I wanted to do all these things and I'm like really high energy and I'm really lucky because every person on my board, every person on my board is just as excited and thrilled and dedicated to doing these things as I am. And I'm really lucky I have all of them.
We're lifelong residents of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not lifelong. I'm 20 years in this town. That's half of my life, and lifelong, and we want to do stuff for the community. That's
They're as
period.
dedicated as I am.
Great. We appreciate it. We gave you such a big budget to work with, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
We have good persuasion skills, though.
Yes, very good.
Cecile?
I want to thank you guys for coming in tonight. I know who wants to go on another Thursday night, right? And especially at this hour, but thanks so much. It's hard to believe that it's already been like 7 months since you guys, the new board was formulated. And God, I'm best confessing you had a lot of big events that went off. I appreciate the fact that I get to put some faces with names because I could walk by you and work with them. I have no idea that you were part of the rec committee. So for me, that's the value that I'm getting out tonight is to get to know you guys. I'm curious to know with the pool rentals last summer, were you guys pretty busy with?
So when I came in July, I believe 17th is kind of when I stepped in. I was kind of Kayla. Do you know Kayla? Sakar? Yeah. So she was down there. She came up and helped me kind of obviously fill me in right away on how that all ran. Booked. I mean, booked. I already, from even 2, maybe 3 months ago, I'm already renting my weekends for the pool again. So, but it was absolutely booked up there. It was awesome. Everything ran smooth. I tried to kind of go up there probably more than I should have, just because I needed to acclimate how things worked and what went on. But it was every weekend. It was packed. There's always something going on, and I got a lot of phone calls about how great the lifeguards were and how nice the kids were. So as far as I know, I didn't get any complaints, and I think it ran very well for the remaining of the summer. So I'm glad that those lifeguards and Kayla were there through the transition, because I think that's what helped it be so smooth, especially down there.
Will the same group be back this summer?
I think so. I think Kayla will be back. And I'm assuming most of the lifeguards will. I think a couple of them were seniors, I want to say. Most of them actually. So, but it's a summer job, so I think most of them want to come back. I'll reach out to them, the same people I had last year, and then we'll probably put out an ad to see if anyone else wants to do it, depending on kind of what we hear back from that. So.
And does revenue that you want to bring in from the rentals, does that almost cover the cost of keeping the pool open?
So, I can't say with certainty because I stepped in the middle. From what I saw, it has to cover, from what I saw it covering, it just made it. And that was with completely booked weekends. So it's something that we're gonna sit down, and we've talked about this, we're gonna sit down and look at try to crunch some of the numbers a little bit to see if it's making sense, see, I mean, I think we're a very fair price for the pool, of course, the rental, it's phenomenal, it is. But I don't wanna go walk in and be like, okay, here, I'm gonna raise everything, you know. So we have to look at that and see what's making sense, see if maybe the shifts the lifeguards are on are appropriate, are there too many people there, can we, the times of it, because we were dishing up an awful lot in payroll that it just wasn't equating, I don't think, the way, when I was looking at it, I couldn't believe like where it was, how quickly it was out. As soon as I got it, it was gone. So that's something we are going to take the time to go through, because that's one of the concerns this summer. If it's gonna, I'm sure we'll squeeze by.
Yeah,
but
and it's such a good value for the people in town. You know, it's not something, it's a good, it's a good price for families to go and enjoy it.
Yes.
So, I mean, my personal thought would be, you know, for the townspeople, keep it at a reasonable price. And if you have to bring in more income, do it on rentals, because you're a very good price for your rentals.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to go rent a hall somewhere to have their parties, and one is not pay attention, they're going to pay a lot more for it. So I mean, you guys have a good thing going down there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put you on everything. I really just am really.
You're welcome to ask anything. We're
No, that's just my curiosity. But thanks again for coming out tonight. It's nice to
Thank
meet
you for
guys.
having us.
Thank you.
Sorry?
No, but I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I know it was a bit of a,
Just to tell them, you know, I had a chance to go to a wedding this summer, and the people that worked there for us, for the recreation department, they were just unbelievable. They were on the ball, went into the trash, you know, cleaned the facilities, the bathrooms, and you didn't even have to ask them to do anything. They just, you know, it was great.
They're a good group down there. Yeah.
I'm amazed. I don't plan that far in advance, and people are, how many are already in booking for this summer?
I have,
I'm not even thinking.
I have about 6 locked in, which means they sent the security deposit, and then I have like triple that as like penciled in. I want this date, pencil me in. It looks crazy. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, do you know it's still like snow outside? But
People know that
yeah,
there are only so many weekends.
there's always
There's
graduation
probably, what, 20
parties.
Fridays till Christmas, you know, if you really want to look at it again.
Yeah,
but,
don't do that to me.
Well,
Hey, will you?
Pete, did you have your hand up? No?
Nope.
Okay, I swore I saw you.
Doing a good job.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you.
know,
Thank you.
somebody else have some ideas we can pass on.
Absolutely. We usually do our meetings the first and, the second and fourth Tuesday. It's usually work better for us. I know, hoping maybe. But anyone who ever wants to drop by, you're more than welcome. And if anyone wants to help us with Founder's Day, we would love that.
Yes.
And, you know, feel free to send us information too, so we can bring it up at our meetings.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
good job.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to the... Next, we have a designation of animal control officer and assistant animal control officer.
This is a new requirement the state has every year.
Oh, okay. You had me nervous.
You're gonna have to do this, and so I asked tonight that you vote to designate Brian Plant as the town of Norton's animal control officer for 2018.
Motion?
So moved.
Second. Had me nervous there for a minute. I was thinking maybe Ryan was deciding to retire. He
If they want
did a
to-
great job for us for a very little time, so.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I might have done both.
I thought you did both.
I did, we both did the same thing. He made the motion, he made the second.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
All right.
Unanimous.
And also to designate Brandy Jackson as the assistant. She is, yes.
So moved.
Second.
There's 2 seconds at the same time.
That's all right, you can take it, Brad.
It's up to her to figure out who
Yeah,
said
Bob,
it. Okay.
And just on that, there is so much that he has to do now, that as far as keeping records and some tests that he has to take. All the stuff is on this stuff.
Well, we're glad to have him. Yes, both. It's a lot of work. Thankless job.
You know, Mr. Chairman, just a comment on Mr. Black. Here's one department that you never hear anything about. Good, bad, or indifferent. You know, he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves to run that department. You know, lo and behold, we had more dog complaints years ago that were just like, that's all we ever did on a Thursday night. Barking dogs or whatever, you know, it's nice to.
You bet.
And just to tell you one this week, and it's hard because people that have their dogs love their dogs, and the people that get attacked or chased by those dogs don't particularly like them. And he's caught in the middle. And there was an incident this week where a pit bull chased some other dogs and chased a couple, and so the neighborhood was very upset about this pit bull, obviously. And you know, Brian was right out there and took a report, and then went to the owner of the pit bull, who agreed to turn the pit bull over to him. So obviously, that's a tough thing for him to get in the middle of, because the owner was very devastated.
Yeah.
They lost their dog. And, you know, they understood he was able to talk with them and get them to understand the situation, and they turned it over. So he really does a great job like that. He's got a good way about it.
You know, in fact, Bob, the capital improvement, he rode a van for like 12 years, I think it was. And it got so bad that he was worried about the animals falling to the floor. And he finally came to us and said, I need a new van, and we said, I think you're right. Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Brandy Jackson to the Assistant Animal Control Officer.
Aye.
Opposed? Town manager's report.
I just want to, I gave you a copy of the cherry sheet, and when you look at the cherry sheet, you see the total estimated receipts last year were $15,439,21. This year, we're $15,857,000. You say, oh, okay, they're doing good. Well, I thought I'd give you an explanation with that, and just a breakdown on that. As a comparison, I gave you the years FY18 and FY19, and out of the revenue that we received, last year, $292,754 was received under school choice revolving. Now, this is a direct pass-through to the schools, so it goes right to the schools. And so this year, that increased to $519,937,000. So that's $519,937 that goes directly to the schools that passes through. Also, the public library, pretty consistent. It was $24,602 last year and $24,516 this year. So if you take out those pass-throughs, last year, the balance of receipts was $15,121,665. This year it's $15,312,850. Then you have to take off of that the estimated charges. And so once you deduct those charges. Last year, we received, last year, the charges were $1,894,870. This year, they're $2,205,059. And so once you deduct those charges, we actually have a loss this year of $119,004. And the bulk of those charges, just down below, you can see our school choice sending tuition went from $82,565 to $114,688. So that's an increase of $32,123. And our charter school sending tuition went from $1,354,139 to $1,621,368. So the charge increase year to year was 200. The total tuition increase, the charge just for the charter school change was $229 this year. And the total change in tuition increase is $299,352. So that's why we're in the hole with our cherry sheet by $119,004.
I got a question. On the school choice sending tuition, I get what that is when kids opt to go to another public high school, another town, we pay for sure. But when kids from other towns come into our town, there's also school choice money, right, that comes in. Is this offsetting? Where is that revenue?
That's up above. The school choice revolving tuition,
Right, but does that,
that could,
I guess my question is, that's a pass-through.
that's
The
a
revolving
pass.
tuition is a pass-through, but the sending tuition is not.
Yeah, that's not a pass-through. That comes off our cherry sheet.
Can I ask maybe what I would think is an obvious question? If they brought in $519,000, if we brought in $519,000 in school choice money for kids coming into this town, but we spent $114,000, why is there not a reimbursement to our budget for the $114,000?
$400,000. That's how our rate works.
No, I'm just saying the cost. Why is the cost coming off the top of the budget instead of coming out of the revenue that we're bringing into that program?
It's just the way that the money, we don't see the money. It gets deposited directly into the school account, the 519.
So the town gets it, but it goes to the school, the 519.
Yeah.
So when we send, then it comes out of the government.
It comes
Yeah,
off
that's
our
what-
cherry.
Does that seem right?
No,
So we're paying
Oh.
$114,000.
If they get what coming in, they should also, in that same account, pay what's going out.
If they pay $100,000 going out and they get in $600,000, the 100 should be reimbursed to the top of the budget and they should keep 500.
Right.
Well, if you look at,
That's a funny
if it went
No,
up,
no,
well,
I
their
agree
school
with you.
choice revolving that they receive went up almost 300,000, and what we're paying out
Went up
went
30.
up 300,000, so.
Yeah, but to that point, it still makes sense that we would
It should be the same.
at least
same
give us
account.
back the money for this so we can use it for something else.
It's not, a-
119 should be deducted from the 519.
it's not a good way to look at the program. If you're saying on one hand, they're saying, oh, we say we get money from school choice coming in and we're able to fund other things. But if we don't look at what that program's costing us, we don't have the real dollar.
Well, yeah, and that's, this down the bottom, that cost has nothing to do with our school choice. That's our students that leave Norton and go somewhere else.
So because we're in the school choice program, our kids can leave or we take in, it's the same program. So
If we weren't in school choice,
we wouldn't be
we
spending more.
wouldn't spend the money going out.
You still would spend the money going out.
It never used to be that way.
Well, you don't have a choice whether you're in, you have a choice whether you take students in, but you can't prevent a student from going out.
It used to be.
Yeah, you can't now. The school committee only makes a decision every year. They have to vote whether they want to be part of school choice.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the students here. They can still go out.
And what I'm saying is in the past, years ago, if you didn't participate, it didn't matter if people couldn't.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure people don't think just because we take students here, that's why we're stuck paying this for the ones that go out. It doesn't matter if we take them here.
Right, it's a fantastic program, but it's a fantastic program, and I feel the same way about this little funding mechanism that we have, as I do about the charter school. It's not that the program is wrong, or the charter school is wrong, it's, I think, the way we do the funding is wrong.
Well, in effect, you look at, hopefully, one way to look at it is when you do the budgets, and you say, well, there's this much money available, and we know you've got $500,000 that you're receiving in tuition, so figure that into your budget.
Right.
And is that what you're able to do?
Well, hopefully, you were on the finance committee?
Yeah, for a little while.
That year. At one point, when one of the finance committee members said to the school department at a finance committee meeting, I see a budget here, but I don't see any school choice money being used. So can you come and explain that to me? And you better not tell me it's like your free cash and you don't think you should be using free cash for non-recurring
expenses.
or for recurring expenses.
Yeah,
And that kind of was the explanation that came up.
I think in general, we have a good working relationship. I think it's come a long way with working with the school committee and the budget and everything. It's just sometimes when something like this is put out there, it just seems to be like a glaring discrepancy. And maybe, you know, you have a good relationship with Joe. This might be something you guys can work out when you're doing the budget, and that's fine.
Well, it's no different than what we do. Everything we generate, every ounce of income the town side generates, schools get 7%. In this case, on school choice, they basically get it, but they use it for school purposes. That's why I'm not saying it just unfair. They use it, in my opinion, school choice and charter schools are both school choice. And when you're getting $500,000 and we're spending millions on the other side, I just think it would be nice if we had the ability to, you know, to soften some of the blow. We have no say in our school choice or our charter school. It's process right through that charter sheet. We have no discussion about it whatsoever. On the other side, we're getting income, and we're paying out millions. We're paying out close to
You're paying out $2,205,000.
Yeah, I mean, that $519,000, I softened it that much. I got the ability to use it. And I get it, I know what to use it for, I know to use it for our programs and stuff like that, but in all transparency, it doesn't make sense.
What I'm disappointed to see here is the increase on charter school. Because I think we've had a good trend over the last 2 or 3 years where I know the school committee and the superintendents worked hard to retain those kids. And we were trending in the right direction for a long time. And it seems like a big swing in the opposite direction. So I'm hoping, Mike, how certain are we on these numbers?
I don't think they can change. I don't know. I asked the superintendent's going to check.
Yeah.
This is the first run.
Yeah.
Obviously, the governor's numbers. But then they go to the
Yeah,
House.
it's just a surprise. It's been a long time since we've gone up.
On the charter school tuition, that's a set figure times the number of students going.
Yeah.
Has that number changed?
I'll find out from the superintendent.
I'd just be interested.
I'm assuming it
On the
has.
same idea as what Mike's talking about, has the enrollment increased, or is it just that the assessment?
It's probably a combination of the two, Brad.
The problem is they do the same thing that the vocational schools do. They set their numbers. Well, they'll say they have so many students September at the beginning of school, but it doesn't come off if they leave in October and come back is another issue.
I'd be interested in finding out, is the number of students changing, or is it just they increase the charter school tuition?
And to your point, you know, we were told last year if we had all day kindergarten, you know, we could probably see a decrease of people going to other schools, whether it be a charter school or outside tuition. And both of these have increased this year, even after all day kindergarten. So, you know, it's just, I'm sure there's reasons for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that for the most part, I'm sure they're trying to retain as many as they can, but at the same time, the costs keep going up and up and up, and again, we have no say in this whatsoever. We do have a say on the reimbursement on our end of it, and that's what the school department, school committee does. They accept these students from outside, which is, in that case, it's a plus. It's showing that more people are coming into our school system from outside, but yet we seem to be sending more of our people somewhere else. And it just doesn't make sense. It's just,
Mr. Chairman, I think it's important what Brad just said, and also what Mike said. I think we need to see what the enrollment numbers were versus the cost per student, number one, so that we can, see if the enrollments actually have come down. The other thing is, I don't think we've given them enough time to see a benefit from the all-day kindergarten, because people probably already made their mind by June last year or
Yeah,
July.
so funding decisions
So I think
late.
what we need to do is look at these figures over the next 2 or 3 years, and hopefully we'll see a decline in that number, which hopefully will manifest itself in a decline in what we're paying out.
okay, I'll keep track of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that, I bet that they're keeping track of it too, because I'm sure they've got some curiosity.
Before we can move on, just one, well, we're talking about the charter school tuition. How about the school choice sending tuition? Is that statewide? Is it a certain figure per student?
It is. And then I think I gave you, did everyone get a copy of this? And I thought this was something that would be good to put on the town website. This is a report that the Department of Local Services, the Division of Local Services, prepares, and it gives good breakdowns for the residents to see. First slide is the total budget per capita, and then the next slide shows the revenue by source: state aid, local receipts, tax levy. The next slide shows the revenue by source, so you can see what percentage. For example, our tax levy is 55.25%, and our state aid is 24.65%. Then we see the state aid cherry sheet numbers, which shows you the receipts and charges, and you can see there hasn't been that great of a increase over the years. So. And then the net state aid, when you take the charges off of the cherry sheet. The next one is the local receipts estimates versus actuals. And you can see the big spike last year because we had that Alnylam one time. Then the general fund expenditures, it breaks it down by general government, public safety, debt service, education, public works. And they give you a pie chart for that. And then the last one is just the numbers that shows what is expended per department. So I thought that was something that would be interesting to put on the town website.
Yeah, I think you should.
Townwide cleanup, I spoke with Keith, and we're going to set that day for Saturday, April 21st will be townwide cleanup day. So we'll be reaching out to all the youth groups in Wheaton College and anyone that wants to volunteer. We'll get some information up on that. And I just wanted to let you know that we have advertised for our building commissioner. We've advertised on the building officials website and the MMA website. So hopefully we get some resumes in quickly on that.
Can we, next year, can we take a look at the salary range for that position? Make sure that we're somewhere near where we should be. And the person that we, obviously, I'm going to say right from the get-go, we want someone who's qualified to do the job with proper licensing and, everything in place. So that means we have to pay for it. But I think it's important that we finally buckle down and get ourselves a building inspector that will hopefully stay with us for a while, but also has a qualification to be.
The salary range as advertised, which is in the Senior A union contract, it's a range of $64,590 to $79,590.
Be interested to see what other towns in the area would pay for that position.
attended the chamber luncheon last Friday, and I thought you'd be interested to know that the business person of the year was Lynn Tokarczyk, who we've worked with in the past, and the business of the year was New England Ice Cream. So,
Very good.
congratulations to them.
Nice.
Nice.
And I just wanted to have some discussion. I know the Water and Sewer Department had spoken to the chairman about possibly scheduling a special.
Actually, they came to our last meeting. We had a great conversation when Bernie was here. Was it the last one or one before? Where he was talking about the possibility of meeting.
Now,
It's just for funds for that facility.
What happened is, that process is 30 months out of whack right now. We're 30 months beyond when we wanted to build it. And as the financial climate gets better, everybody's prices keep going up and up and up. And now they're looking at going off a new RFP to get the final pricing of what they think it's going to cost. And I think he mentioned something like it could be close to $700,000 more to build this facility. Based on the climate in town regarding our groundwater, I feel it's probably important that we do call for a special to get this thing expedited and keep it going. We wait until May and try to go out and do all this stuff. It's not going to get started this year if we hope that. So the sooner we get shovel in the ground, the better off we are. And we need to call a special town meeting, and I'm sure there'll be other articles thrown on there too.
the only problem with it is timeline and everything. By the time you open it, advertise it, close it, review the articles by town council, prepare the warrant, have finance committee review the warrant, and have the special town meeting. The earliest we could have it would be Wednesday, April 11th.
So March 15th. What did I think it was March 15th?
There's enough time.
About 30 days would be out of regular town meeting.
Right, and have we, I mean, you already mentioned it, have we had any formal request from the water sewer business?
The chairman, I know, wants it. I'll talk to them. There's no way that they could, well, I don't know when their bids, I think their bids might be due the end of the month.
Yeah, they have that deadline that they have to do. Because, I mean, the thing is, it costs money. I get that. If one department, to the chair, I talked to Luke myself, he said, if we need to help pay for it, we'll pay for it. This is a very important deal. A month doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a big deal. And, we're looking at $700,000 now. A month could be another $100,000 by the time we're trying to be frugal about it. So, this process has taken way too long to begin. It really has. It would be nice to move it along. And I'll bet you right now, if we open up a warrant at the end of April 12th or whatever the date was, I'll guarantee it'll be 10 hours on it. Just because. I guarantee it. So on the water department, it's taking the lead to try to make this happen. It's because we have to get it done. But, I'm guaranteed that it'll be us. No doubt in my mind. And I know it's only about a month difference, but that month can be made, make a big deal in the cost of the project.
So if you voted to open the warrant tonight, it will be published on February 13th.
Board pleasure. Anyone? I already expressed my opinion.
I don't know if the finances of the water department they have, and I think, personally, I think if the water department needs a special, that they should be having a meeting, sending us a notice that they let us call a special town meeting.
Okay, the chair called me last week and asked if I would consider bringing it to your
I think
attention.
he did visit me this week.
And he went to see Mike this week. I don't know if it's a formal vote, like I say, Brad, I'm not sure about that. I just know what the chair has asked.
Sure.
They will. But we also have somebody else, the Rainbow property down on Union Road, they're gonna donate that to the town because they did pay for it. So,
I mean, but putting that aside, putting that aside,
Oh,
I
it's-
think that if the water department is willing to pay for the town, cost of the town for their funds, and we throw 10 other articles on there, so be it. But
But we have time meetings when we're down, it's fine.
yeah.
I mean, I think it would show some leadership on that board to say, we have to put a town meeting out there because we have this project going and this is gonna have a positive effect if we have a town meeting. However, we realize that it's a month before our annual town meeting, we'll talk to the meeting.
Bids were coming in, when were the bids coming in?
February 28th.
28th of February. That's why I originally were talking about March 15th, I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense. But now that the timeline has, every week we talk about it, we talk about it next week, it's gonna be April 9th, and it's just gonna continue to go out now with the closer.
Do we already have a special in the ATM? Or is it just?
Yeah, well, they're almost always,
but is there
we just
anything?
haven't scheduled it
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
So if you had this in April, there's not gonna be much.
Here's hoping.
Not especially.
Second
I
week.
mean, I don't have a problem with May 14th. I think the water department should fully ask, but I'm not gonna worry about that, because it's now $1,000. So, I'll move that
So we go to special town meeting, gets approved at town meeting, hopefully by that time we'll have an idea what the cost will be.
Again,
Does it go out the bid then?
No, it's gone
out to bid already?
It's gone out to bid already. So
Bids
they'll
will be
know
by February
what they-
28th.
Okay.
Then from February 28th, you have the bids, right? Something to
Okay.
determine what it's gonna be. So when we go to town meeting, they know exactly what's gonna be done.
Yeah, I was thinking that we'd have to go out the bid, and I'm saying now at that time of the game, everybody's getting geared up for summer, we won't see a show until Christmas, but yeah,
It's
okay.
already out.
I got it.
It went out last week.
I feel better.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Brad,
Brad.
Yeah.
Second.
I'll move the call for a second town meeting.
Second.
And also, in addition to that, I would ask them to see if the water department.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, but are they going to move me for 1 minute?
No, I'm
Maybe
sure.
so.
They may have enough money in their reserve, but they may have to put a borrowing article. The library may need a borrowing article to help. And we're going to be talking with them Monday. Their HVAC issue.
Yep, I got a notice from okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Oh, meeting on what time?
April 11th, the warrant will open tonight, and it will close on February 21st.
At 7 o'clock, the high school electronic.
Very good. You can clear on that? Those in favor? Opposed? And I get the timing, and I think it's very important. I think people are sick and tired of groundwater. I know I am.
Right.
Spent another $200 today with a plumber because of groundwater. And, now up to $400 that I've spent. And it's just, can't drink it. So,
You get your senior discount?
I got tight budget.
On toothpaste?
I don't think seniors should pay for that.
Well, you don't have to, the receptacle out. behind
Yeah, I
the,
know.
town hall.
I know where that is.
I just had a question. Did everyone got a copy of the purchase and sale?
No. Well, what?
That's you.
I've seen one. I don't know when I have it.
What's it? Yeah, no, this is-
No, that's the letter.
that's the offer. No, we don't do that. No. Oh, yeah, I know, it's hard.
My only question on that is because if they sign it and get back in between meetings, if you vote to sign the purchase and sale agreement now, then you could just sign it if it comes back without any substantial changes.
In other words, if they just send it back to one to authorize the chairman to sign.
I think you're all on there. So you
I
could,
think-
you
I
could
think
come
we all-
in,
I
you
think
could
we all
come in
have
and
to
sign it, so it would speed things up.
Okay.
Well, we've agreed on a price, and we have the money available to do that.
Yeah.
More than likely, in this special town meeting, we'll be asking for more, no doubt in my mind. But in the meantime, and this is what the purchase price is there, we've done it, so. I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the E3 telescope camp for
$481,500.
So moved. Second.
motion second. Any further discussion? And then we'll find out have to sign all, so I just, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay.
And I gave you the list of articles that we submitted, so just. One thing I did add, if I could, on those articles, if we pass the article regulating where marijuana can be sold, the town can tax it 2%. So I put an article in there to establish that tax.
Yeah, might as well get something.
And you can also receive 3% of the gross receipts of the facility in mitigation money. So we'll see what happens.
Why do you want to tax
Take her.
Well, I know that. Why don't you? That's what I'm saying. Why should they be going sales tax?
We shouldn't be able to do it that way. Think of all the budget woes we wouldn't have if we could do
It's still a leaf that you're burning and inhaling the, oh, that's something for the hearing.
They find another way to take it, just like the lottery money.
Yeah. And next on the agenda, we have a request of Adam P. Lucas. For sending us letters of request to be appointed to constable of the town of Norton. My father, Joe Loomis, had the privilege of serving the town of Norton as constable for 7 years. Probably passed away in January of this year, I don't know that. I've been working with him running a full-time constable business for almost 15 years. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Indiana University, and also successfully completed training at the Massachusetts Reserve Police Academy in Plymouth, Mass. I have attended and completed several constable training seminars through the years to keep up to date on the law regarding the civil service and civil process. I have several appointments in other towns and respectfully request to fulfill Gerald's term as well as to continue to serve as a constable. This is Wayne, the company that is Wayne, Mass.
Two pictures, let's take a look first. And you remember what you asked in the past, you had a problem. I'll move that we approve.
Can I just, for the question, just throw something out there?
Second.
So, I don't know, maybe I'm being picky here, but, so this guy serves papers to people in the town, right?
and other.
Would we not want that happen then? I mean, I know we have been comes with his father, but are we just assuming that because of all our military? Usually we do have the constables and then when we appoint them, right?
I mean, I just have one further comment, not to say that we're biased by any means, but I know this be an open position, but should we open it up to other candidates to apply? I mean, not to post it. I mean, just, you guys, I'm just suggesting that. I mean, it's probably right the way we're doing it, but I just don't want anybody to say that, oh, I didn't get a shot. I mean,
Prior to the charter, we had a bunch of them. And then as the charter was established, that we got to the 5, said everyone could serve until, they resigned or died or whatever. We did get it down to 5, so there are 5 constables. I can name 3 of them. Anyway, but one is out of town, I believe. I think he's from outside. Like this. Yeah, he has an outside.
Oh, we just from Hope in this special one.
So this would be the 5th. So 3 would be town residents.
How long is the term? Is this he's finishing out fulfilling his father's
We
term?
have to find out what his term expired.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to find that out.
Yeah.
I would have him come in, but I'd also have to write out that there is a position open. I wasn't aware that this was Mr. Craig or Pastor or anything. I can condolences for that, but I think anyone else is interested too.
Passed away. That's the only thing
We don't have any, we check the files too much to be sure what is on file. Hold off.
I forgot to ask the next guy to come in.
Yeah, he was, so, I put in a request to be appointed to the cemetery commission. The new cemetery in Newland Street, Newcomb, still needs to have a number of issues taken care of. Now that I have more time, I'd like to see if I can get that cemetery open. We are running out of space down in Plain Street, and it's very important that we get it done. And there are some requirements that we need to comply with for the Board of Health. Some of the members, they're down to very few members left. I believe there's only 2 really active at this point. So they can't get a quorum at this point. So I'm willing to volunteer. If somebody else comes along and wants the job, they can have it. I don't have a problem with that. But I want to keep this cemetery issue going. So that's why I'm requesting the position. If you want me to.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Bob to the cemetery commission.
yes, and all the others that have vacancies.
Yeah, every other, yes. Let's not get all done tonight.
Someone else volunteering? You put more than one on tonight. Okay, your motion second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Just quickly, we do have positions open on the zoning board, and people needed to run for the planning board. So if people are interested in helping out and volunteering, please come forward.
Do we have one contested race right now?
Yes, and also, we were talking earlier, Southeastern Regional, we don't have a representative on the board of the school committee in Southeastern Regional because no one has stepped forward to say they'd be willing to fill that spot until the election.
Is that an elected position?
It is.
Bless you.
And it's elected by all community members. Yeah, I believe we can make an appointment, right? If we wanted that, we could make an appointment until the next election. Maybe you can give us a list for the next meeting so we can make sure we don't know that. Okay, we have an appointment to permanent full-time firefighter / paramedic Samuel R. Nelson. Fire department.
He's on duty tonight, he couldn't make it. We had a transfer out. The firefighters decided to go back to the western part of the state and transfer it out, a lateral transfer out. And this would be a lateral transfer in Claytonville. So he's already trained, won't have to go to the academy.
But you will have it.
It's noted to the Board of Selectmen from Michael D. Loomis, Town Manager, dated January 31st, 2018. Notice of appointment of a firefighter. I hereby notify the Board of Selectmen that acting in accordance with the provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as the appointing authority, have appointed the following individual as a permanent full-time firefighter paramedic in the town of Norton Fire Department. Samuel R. Nelson. The appointment was made on January 31st, 2018, and will affect February 15th, 2018, unless the Board of Selectmen votes to accept or reject this appointment prior to said date. However, I especially request this Board to accept this appointment effective March 5th, 2018.
Anyone have any questions? We do want to have them come in. We have to, badge ceremony, we have to do all that stuff in here?
I don't remember if we do that for firefighters or just for officers. Just
You do it for all.
I think so, but anyway, you can have them come in, we'd like to be.
Yeah, he would already have a badge because he already was
Yeah.
a firefighter, so we just fill that badge.
Motion second.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Anything else? Selectmen's report in the mail. Several? No? Oh, that's awesome. Mention the building and stuff.
So about that event that's happening.
Now, there was something.
Something in there that Brian had sent over.
Oh, yeah. In Attleboro? Yes.
Read it in.
Sure.
Dr. Ruth Potee, Youth Opioids and Prescription Drugs. Dr. Ruth Potee, a well-known physician, board-certified in family medicine and addiction medicine, will speak on the vulnerabilities of youth and addiction prevention strategies, the connection of athletes and sports injuries to potential misuse, and other home, family, community considerations about access to these harmful substances. Across the country and in our state, communities struggle with how to help battle the current opioid and our prescription drug epidemic. Working together, we have an opportunity to better understand the complex issue in Bristol County and be part of the solution helping to tackle this lifelong danger. It will be in North Attleboro, March 29th from 7 to 9:30, North Attleboro High School Auditorium, 1 Wilson Whitty Way, North Attleboro.
You know, go ahead, I'll get on it.
It's Friday. I believe it's the 16th.
Wait from tomorrow would be
16.
16.
I believe it's the 16th.
Mary's going to say she's on.
Confusing with phone.
Yeah, I know.
There won't be a 13th.
Can I just ask a question? I don't know whether it matters to the board, but
Got it.
your next scheduled meeting is on the 22nd, that's school vacation week. Does it matter?
I won't be.
You used to. I don't go to school anymore.
Finally booted you out.
They probably gave up.
Yeah. School choice program wasn't working for me anymore.
No, I'm from one street to the next.
Yeah. Okay, warrants and minutes, report of the Chairman Robert Kimball on the following payroll and invoice warrants. Entertained motion approved bi-weekly payroll warrant on the PR 16 for the period ending January 22nd, 2018, dated February 1st, 2018, in the amount of $1,193,220.03.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Approve the invoice warrant AP 31 dated February 1st, 2018, in the amount of $1,250,237.63.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We have approved the invoice warrant AP 32 dated February 8, 2018, in the amount of $359,623.33. Second motion, we have a second. Any further discussion on AP 32? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We have two sets of minutes. Had a chance to look them over, everybody?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to look them over? Aren't you excited about the vote? Okay, so we have minutes of January 11, 2018 and January 25, 2018. Chair entertain a motion to approve as written.
So moved.
Motion and second. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Everything?
I do. So the annual Kentucky Daily Memorial Basketball game will take place this year on March 9th. And we'll have details at our next meeting.
March 9th.
March 9th, yeah.
How much Kathy been doing?
Since 2003.
2003,
Yep.
14 years, yeah. I did find something that Mr. Yunus didn't see. It was a timeline for the warrant for the construction of the water plant. And they sent to the central register, they sent that on the 11th of January. The plans and specs were completed on the 15th of January. It appeared in the central register on the 17th. The site visit on the 31st. Another site visit on February 6th. And the bids are going to be open on the 14th of February.
Fantastic.
Sub-bids open February 14th. The general bids will be open on the 28th. The town meeting will be whenever. They had planned on starting the construction in April of 2018. A month ahead of us. They're going to complete the construction by July of 2019. Okay. I think we've got it all, no executive session, right? Anything else come before the board? Yes.
One thing, and I'm sorry I meant to mention this during the announcement. The two, I guess, unfortunate incidents we've had in the last couple of weeks since our last meeting with the occurrence of the Glen and what happened yesterday with the campus. Just wanted to note the efforts of the police and fire departments and any other town departments that might have been involved in those.
What is the final status on the tree? Yesterday? Yes.
All the barrels are removed. Cost them a pretty penny, I'm sure. And, it was, from what I heard, it may have been like a mixing of chemicals in the barrel. People were cleaning up. It must have just been thrown. And
You can understand that.
the metal cover on the barrel actually melted. And you heard it popping in the barrel. And there were 5 of the barrels lined up next to it. So they had them all removed. No smell or anything. But compounded with that, there was a gas leak in there at the same time, so.
This is all right around the corner.
And while we're talking about water, the new machine has been dropped off. It's not working yet. The machine is here at the town hall. And hopefully, as soon as that thing gets up and running, we can let people know when cable access of the water is available to Norton residents. If we can hold it that way, and have, I know the machines out there start, so,
Doesn't take money away.
no. Should be all free to Norton residents. Hopefully we'll have that up, hopefully this week, next week.
They didn't put in an electric unit in
Anyway, is there anything else coming before the board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.